Hi. Now we're going to take a quick look at the back end of HomeRunner, how things are set up, what options are available, etc. Going right into the back end of WordPress, HomeRunner is available here or on the sidebar, and going right into settings. Starting with the first screen, HomeRunner connects to our central server that is responsible for all of the API communications between PMSs, and authenticates into that server through an API key, where it then selects the proper connection out of the central and allows that connection to feed all of the data for the website. Some of the options we have available off the top is ability to customize the property slug, meaning that your individual property URL can be either property, which is a default, or say unit or cabin or rental or villa, whatever is most appropriate for your operation. This is where we set up the archive slug, should that be available, or we can remove that, removing the archive page from WordPress if that is not the intended use. We control how many calendar days ahead of time we are synchronizing the availability and how far ahead we are making the calendar available for booking. We have settings around the advanced booking hour, meaning that we can control how far in advance is the booking allowed to be created based on the check-in date, meaning you may not want to allow guests to create bookings that have the check-in date within the 24 hours of the reservation being created. Then we also are able to calculate average rating based on the review data. We do our best to synchronize reviews from PMS or other sources, and then we can actually use the rating for the reviews and calculate the average rating, which we can then show in the card view for the property. Multiple ways we can handle pricing. We get the currency directly from the PMS, but this setting is focused on the price slider. The price filter we show in the filter modal. That is what we control with this setting here. We have the option of combining fees and taxes into a single line and therefore giving it a title. Or we can also combine only the fees, only the taxes, so you'll just say fees and not list out all of the fees individually. When we calculate the lowest starting point price or average price for each of the properties, we have an option of limiting the calculation period, meaning that, say, if you have not fully set your prices for a year from now, then you might have some default prices there that will throw off the lowest price display or average display. We are able to hide refundable fees from the price breakdown. This means that, say, your property, the actual fees for the reservation are $2,000, and then you have $1,000 refundable fee. Should you want to, you can subtract that from the total, so that the total for the reservation would not show $3,000, which is inaccurate because the fee is refundable. It's not the actual part of the reservation cost. And then just take that out and make the displayed price be $2,000, not counting the refundable fee. Then some options around the map. We can show the Google Map or Leaflet, which is the OpenStreetMap. And for the Google Map, our customers typically would create their own Google Maps API key. Going into Explorer. Explorer is the main part of HomeRunner. This is what we use to display properties, to filter properties, to show the map alongside with the properties, etc. So starting from the very beginning, this is the setting that controls what page is going to be displayed when a filters bar is performing a search. So this is where we can set up the URL for that page. That page, of course, has to be set up in order to show those things. Strict minimum stay in this case is where if somebody searches, let's say, for a 2-night duration, and there's a property that has a minimum stay of 3 nights, it may be available in a multi-property search. It may be available during those 2 days, but since the min stay for it is larger than the duration of the search, it would not be bookable for those 2 nights. So this is where we can toggle that on, thereby reducing potential frustration for guests who are seeing a property but can't book it. Filters. And I will just kind of go back here. These are the filters for HomeRunner. And this is where all of these settings are going to be applying. Some of the customization around the language we use. The delay filter is important. Without it, things happen a little bit too quickly and it can be jarring. So we introduced a slight delay that makes things more palpable. Primary filters, where, that's the location filter, dates, calendar, guests. Additional filters is this smaller icons right here. Even though the global settings may specify for something to be shown or hidden, the local on-the-spot shortcode can ultimately override that. So in this case, even though additional filters is turned off, we are showing it here through shortcode. Zone is our ability to combine location-based collections and cities. We have an option of allowing to select multiple locations rather than just one click, and the search window closes, or we can hide the search zone bar, which is what we're doing here, where there is no search across the top. Groups. Here we can control which locations and cities are shown. If none are selected, that means all of them are going to be enabled. And once we start selecting, then we are basically overriding that and are being more selective with the ones that we want to show. And everything here, as you see, is drag and drop. So the exact locations in exact order can be set up. We set up a date format. We set the minimum user, minimum stay for the global multi-calendar search options. More filters that we have are, this is the filter around the sorting option. Let's see, I believe that happens on the next page. Then pets, that's the guests modal that asks whether the guest is bringing pets or not. If somebody is running an operation where none of the properties have pet-friendly capabilities, then including this would only create frustration, so this can be unchecked. These are all the sorting options that will show on the search results on the next page. So this would be the page here. And the options are around what sorting options will show. The sorting option that's at the very top will be the default option, and then it will roll from there. So random here is set after featured. It means it would show all of the featured tag properties first, and after that, use a random selection for the rest. Additional filters. Price slider, I'm going to go ahead and turn that on here and save. This means that, until now I didn't have a price slider, but if I do a quick refresh now with this option enabled, we now have the price filter so that guests can specify what price range they are looking for. Which amenities we're showing, and again, everything here is drag and drop. So specific subset of amenities can be selected and ordered so that the most important ones are on top. The types of properties, and if the type is empty, meaning that there are no properties corresponding to it, it will automatically not be shown. Moving on to the next section of Explorer, we go to Grid. Grid is basically this grid of cards that we show within the search results or browsing. And we have the ability of showing grid without the filters and without the map, etc. Just as we show only filters on the homepage, we can show only the grid in some of the other places. We have an ability to show subtitle source. That means that optionally, beyond just a property title, we can show an additional line, and that can be mapped to either an existing field within the PMS or a custom field. We have an ability to show group labels. That means that if that's toggled on, then if a property belongs to a specific group, we can show a visual label right there over the property card, and we have a few options around visibility for that part. Enable full pricing. This is the option that allows us to do some extra math and calculate and present the full quote at the search results. This is, again, a big deal because of the recently passed FTC regulation around junk fees. So when we enable that, we're able to either include or exclude the tax, and Airbnb does not include tax in this case, so we ultimately default into not showing tax here. Other things before the dates are searched, and here I will just start over and clear the dates. Before the dates are searched, we have the option of showing the starting at price in multiple ways. This can be the lowest price, base nightly rate or base daily price, average, or nothing. So we can turn that off completely and not show anything at this point. We can calculate the lowest price based on all of the available pricing data we have. We can show average, again, calculating it, such as adding up all of the prices across the 365 days, dividing that by 365 and getting a mean average. Or the base daily rate, which is typically less desirable because it's not well represented, because it doesn't change quite as often. The pricing after availability search, if the full price is not available, if is not enabled, then we would show an average nightly rate across those, let's say 7 nights, if the 7 nights are searched. Properties per page, we are quite flexible. We've been able to display up to 200 and more properties all on a single page without pagination. This means that the map represents all of the properties at the same time, and there is less for guests to click and discover more and more, so that your entire portfolio has a chance to appear all on one page. Let's see. We have a separate pagination for the full price because we have to do some extra calculations, and that could be resource heavy. Because of that, we create a lower number of properties we show if the full, once the dates are searched and the full price is enabled. This allows us to be more resource and API use conscious for our partners. This option allows us to customize what is shown if no properties are found. This means that, let's say, if I do a search and I do 100 guests, this is the text that's shown by default, and we have the ability to customize this text as needed. It also accepts HTML code, so this can be sort of a visually rich way of communicating and offering other options. We also can show other properties. Pardon me. If no results are found, we can show a grid of specific kinds of properties based on a tag that exists, thereby basically making this page not look quite as empty and giving more options to the guest. Customizations around what icons we use, the property card, what taxonomy do we show on the left and on the right. This refers to these here. Here we have the city and the property type, which is what's happening here, city and property type. Next up, photos. We show by default 8 photos per property card. In this slider view, this can be adjusted. Good idea not to set it too high. Slider animation, it could fade and scale and pull and push. And we also can control the aspect ratio so that if you'd like your cards to be taller, if the image you want to be is squared, for example, that could be adjusted there as well. Columns, we are very specific about how many columns the grid will be shown in, depending on the width of the browser. So that if we were on a smaller screen, the 3 columns would ultimately turn to 2 and then to 1. So here we see for the view with map, we'll go from 3 to 2 to 3. That is because the map is then shown at the top, giving us a bit more horizontal space, to 2 and to 1. And then separately, without map, you'll see that we have 5 columns to 4 to 3. If I hide the map, these 3 columns become 5 columns, making more effective and more intentional use of the available space. Options around the map. We also can grab snazzy map styles and put them here, which is why you see the map here being styled. It's not your default view for the Google map, but a bit more intentional. Also allows the property pins, the map pins, to stand out better on the map, be more visible. Some more options around there. Appearance, calendar. Booking widget. We'll go into a booking widget. Let's just pick some dates. So booking widget is already working with a quote. This is HomeRunner booking widget that, of course, gets all of the data through API and prepares the entire look and feel for the booking flow for your guests. So what are the options that we have? Price before selection. Here we have a set to nothing. So if I clear the dates, we're not shown any price. But we do have an option of, again, showing the base daily price, which is static field, lowest price, or average price. And this is entirely up to you of how you want to present your pricing within the booking widget. And after the dates are selected, we show the average price, average nightly rate across the selected dates, which means that for these eight nights, the average nightly rate is $230, which is exactly how Airbnb does this in this case as well. Default number of guests, minimum to base. Here we start with one guest as the minimum to base. We have control over what we consider to be the minimum stay source, property default, or first available date. This can vary based on seasonality because, therefore, first available date could be a more accurate representation of the minimum stay. How we want to show the date format once the dates are entered, so that in this case, for example, June 20th, 2025. Some of the language customization. If this is a Insta booking, maybe somebody might prefer to have book now for this button. Instead of Insta booking, these are all of the options that are available. At the bottom of the widget, we have the option of showing the total price before or after tax. Note, Airbnb does not include tags in this view. Therefore, someone might prefer to not show the tax in this view, but in this case, we are showing price after tax. The calendar model is something that we always use. This is our very own availability calendar that we're very proud of, and that's what we use for all of the settings. The discount code, the promo code field is also typically on by default. It only becomes visible once the dates are enabled. And if the dates are not shown, then there is no quote, and therefore there is no discount to apply. We can show or hide minimum stay. We can show or hide price details. Of course, guests would want to see what the price details are, so we keep that on by default. But this is the model that shows the entire breakdown as we get it from your PMS. Also worth noting that we have the ability to override the language used here. So, for instance, if this sales tax is too obscure and we wanted to reword that, we can use this field within the options to basically substitute text strings and have that line say something else for the description of the tax in this case. Moving on to the reservation page, this is the page we're taken to after the booking widget has been interacted with and dates are selected. Lots of options around here. We prepare a page that will serve as a checkout. We can include various sections. All of them could be drag and drop to be reordered. So if rental agreement is available, payment details, cancellation policy, if these fields are available, we will show them. If they're not, then they simply will be skipped. We have an option of collecting the mailing address for the guest, just as a quick demo for that. Enabling it and then refreshing this page, you will notice that the guest details section now shows the mailing address. This might be important if you're working with an insurance company that needs the guest's mailing address in order to properly insure your properties. But if that's not needed, typically we advise to keep that off so as not to have the guest fill out and do more or during the checkout process, thereby reducing the possibility of them abandoning the checkout flow. The fewer clicks they need to make, ultimately the better it is for conversion. More options here. The guest message. This is the message right here. I'll just refresh to show that we are done with the address. This message here can be customized to be required, optional, or hidden altogether. And we can show a different field name at the top, the data formatted, language, and more options here, as you can see. We have an option of validating the phone number so that not only do we require the phone number, but we also check if it's a real phone number. This can reduce potential fraud, so that if somebody is just putting in fake information, we would be able to catch it at this point. Confirmation, after the booking is made, we show a confirmation page and have an option to show a pop-up with a custom message that we can set up. Blacklist is a good one because this is your direct booking operation. Of course, you're in control of who you do business with. So say you've had a guest in the past who maybe mistreated the property or was unruly in some other way, and you notice that they're trying to come back and book again. While it's something that you might not have as much control over on OTAs or elsewhere, on your own website, running HomeRunner, you have the ability to specify email addresses and/or phone numbers with asterisk with partial match, and then prevent those guests from booking. There's a custom message that could be set up so that those guests would not be able to complete the booking on the website. Some of the options here, we have the ability to create user accounts on WordPress whenever the guest is creating a reservation. This is largely unneeded unless you are running a sort of a community or a membership or a loyalty program. Therefore, typically we keep this off by default, so I'm not going to go into this too much. But these are abilities that are there in place. We also have the ability to send emails so that when a reservation comes through, we can the website itself with a brand-styled header and footer can send emails to the guest saying, we received a reservation or request with all of the details. The admin can receive an email. This is in addition to whatever your PMS may be doing. Blocked reservation, this is the blacklist, so you can be notified when a guest has attempted to book. Of course, they weren't allowed to, but this gives you visibility into these attempts. Payment, when the payment failed, we can catch that and actually send the guest a link where they can retry the payment. This reduces the number of touch points that your team has to do and gives you visibility. It also gives you an update and gives you sort of a notification of when something like this happens. These are emails. Around sync, when we bring in properties, we have the option of storing all of the images right there on the WordPress website in the media library, or we can hot link the images, particularly around the larger portfolios. If every property, say, has 100 images and you have 100 properties, that's a lot of images to bring in, keep up to date, store. It could slow down the website. It's less optimal. So we have the ability to hot link images and basically use the URLs for images directly out of your PMS. These are settings around the sizes of images for various touch points, the featured image, which is also the the card view or the image that's used right here within the properties could be either the main image if that is a setting available in your PMS, or it could be the first gallery image, meaning when you arrange your images in your PMS, the very first image you put in that order would be treated as your cover image. Tags. We have a deep system of tags within HomeRunner that allows us to organize properties by custom groups, by location-based collections, featured, and more. And here are some additional tags that we can do. This is a related properties tag that allows us to create smaller clusters of related properties that can be shown together. Sticky is a powerful prefix for tag that allows us to set up an order for your properties that bypasses and overrides any of the sorting options that are chosen on the website. So you can just force specific properties to appear always first, second, third, etc. on the website. It's a bit heavy-handed, but sometimes is necessary. Bottom is the same thing from the bottom. An option to not include any specific property within the website's search or browse. So you still want to maintain that property as a link. You still want to be able to have it there so your guests can see it, but you don't want to show it in any of the search results for any specific reason. You have that option. Source mapping is a powerful one. We have very flexible options around what we use for naming a property, rather than just defaulting to your public name that might be the same field you're pushing into the PMSs. Pushing into OTAs. You might want to be more intentional with the title that you choose for the website. And in this case, we can map it to an existing field out of the PMS or a custom field that you might set up and then set up just that. Property slug source. This is a good one. This allows us to specify what URL is set for the property so that when you click into the property, here you see that the URL for this one, Hidden Mountain Gem, is automatically derived out of the title, which looks good. But occasionally maybe the title is too long or even has emojis. putting all of that in the URL can be quite tricky. So instead, what we can do is map the property slug to a specific custom field within your PMS, giving you full intentionality and control over what you want those property slugs to be. Additional property slug is also available, so both can work concurrently. This can be like a vanity URL that your homeowner might want to use. These two next ones are SEO, search engine optimization related. The meta title and meta description for each property by default are driven by the title and a few of the words at the top of the property page. But if you want to be more intentional about how you want, let's say, Google to see and list your property, you can map that to a custom field. So again, have full intentionality there. Occasionally, you may want to have your website show a different maximum guest number than what you have set in the PMS. There are different reasons for that, but you're able to map a custom field for that and ultimately have control of it on your website. Because again, of course, your website is your operation and you have the ultimate say-so as to what you want your properties to be presented as. We can also map the total reviews and the average rating reviews to custom fields, which would allow us to show, let's see if I have this enabled here, a star rating within the card that is mapped to a custom field, so you can manually specify what you want each property to represent for its average star rating and for the number of reviews. Miscellaneous. This is around different ways of synchronization, data to import, auto-sync. These are a bit more of a housekeeping ones. Advanced, we have the ability to disable public taxonomies for specific taxonomy archives. This is helpful if you're not being intentional with setting those pages up. If they're still enabled, then they may be showing sort of unintentional content that hasn't been fully prepared. So just disabling that can be a better choice if you're not doing anything with that specifically. By default, we trigger Google Analytics e-commerce events throughout the entire guest journey. This goes from displaying the properties to making a search to going to the checkout page to completing the reservation. All of those can be triggering an e-commerce event and can be configured to be fully tracked with Google Analytics or Google Tag Manager. And some of the others are more bookkeeping. So this is the run through for HomeRunner backend settings. Of course, if you have any questions, reach out anytime. And this is something that's constantly changing. We're pushing out new features, working on new iteration of HomeRunner that's going to be coming out in the near future. But for the time being, this is what we have. And thank you.